Thank you, Mr. Saxena. Good morning to respected panelists, and good morning to everyone who is spending some time here. Uh, I think I'll not just talk about the security because some of the speakers already touch on, like Mr. Simli came and talk about the service is the key important factor, whether it's part support or whether it's any other mission mode project. I think if we are not really worried about that service being delivered to the citizen, whatever data centers we build, whatever infrastructure we build, whatever application is there, we are actually defeating the end objective over there. I will not really talk about something new. I will still stick to the same thing, saying, are we still managing what we have? Because the technology is getting complex day by day. Are we able to really manage it? Are we really able to secure it? If this picture clearly depicts, if you look at the topic of the presentation or the discussion today, it talks about data center, it talks about infrastructure, it talks about application. If you look at the top part, those are the end objective, those are the services we are actually looking at. Underlying those services are just the IT component which has to be managed. If I put it simply, they are nothing but a list of items. If you see in this particular slide, each aspect of this infrastructure has to be looked at. Where are the issues? Is there availability? Even if we talk about end citizen, the services being available on the mobile technology today, but any component in between not functioning properly will cause to impact on that particular service. It can be as complex as this particular slide if you look at. It's really scary if you look at, this is how our data centers are, this is how our infrastructure is today, this is how our applications have become complex today. The challenge still remains, how do we really manage it? And on top of it, security always remains a concern. As Mr. Saxena said, who is Ram Lal and who is Shyam Lal? Or even if it's one Ram Lal, today he has to access 10 different services. Is there a way we are giving some seamless access to that particular citizen who is not really worried about what user ID and password he is using? Can his life be made much simpler by technology adoption in the data centers and maybe wherever we are hosting those services? Because we have done a good thing by setting up data centers. They are nothing but the highways for the traffic to flow. The traffic is yet to come in most of the data centers, but I'm still, like, my experience with government is eventually it will happen. The good thing is the highways are ready, so I'm more positive about that, saying that the data centers are ready. It is just time for departments to quickly move into data center and start talking about this thing. So there are enough challenges in data centers, so I'll not get into this. Very key slide here, if you look at end objective, let's worry about the service. At the back end, look at what all constitute this particular service over there. Because today technology is getting more and more complex with not only just the application complexity. If you look at the moment infrastructure comes into picture, it is getting much more complex at this situation because we are expected to deliver more sophisticated services to the citizen because when we talk about all these eager services, what is the end objective? By a simple click by the citizen, he should get whatever information he is looking at, irrespective of what runs into this, whether it's on a 3G technology, whether it's somebody is using a IPv6, but the end result, actually the result or maybe the experience of that citizen is actually going down. That's why it's actually getting more and more complex. Today, luckily, and I'm happy not to be talking about cloud today, because if you look at the data centers, the logical layout of the data centers, it was still governments, and eventually it will move to a managed service provider where governments open to service providers. It will eventually move to cloud service provider where those will be hosting services of the government, and the problem really happens is who is looking at where the problem is. Is it within their own data center, whether it's actually at the data center, the service is running at the cloud service provider? This will somewhere become a nightmare. So I think very important to look at the end user. Who is the end user? Somebody who is trying to access the service. Everybody is happy. SLAs 99% because that's what the RFP says. Systems running 99.99 because that's what the RFP says. Somewhere are we just looking at because as Harinder also said that we are bidding there, we are looking at, I have to meet this SLA. Even cumulatively, if you look at the citizen who's trying to access the service, nobody is really worried about what service, what is the outcome he's actually getting there. So I think the time has come to change and looking at the end user rather than looking at just the SLAs we are trying to manage and fulfill those kind of requirement. So I think we have to have technology which provides access to end-to-end visibility, not just one part of it, from end user to the data center, and there are technologies available. So I think it's high time to look at, the moment we talk about a service, we think about an application. At the same time, we should start thinking, if technology is becoming complex, what is the right way to really managing it over there? So from the building blocks of infrastructure, please consider this in mind. Just don't think only about the application which has to be rolled out. From a security perspective, I'll just like to touch on this particular part. This clearly shows the disconnect in the way we are actually deploying application in data centers today. One mission mode project comes, gets rolled out into the data center, new set of application policies, different set of application tools being laid out over there, and the same person who has to access multiple mission mode projects or multiple services is to go through so many user IDs, so many passwords, so many way of the authentication happens. There is no standardized way of deploying security across data centers and infrastructure which is today. So today, if we are talking about this, we should also start thinking, can we put a common layer of security in our infrastructure so that there is a seamless experience for the citizen to come and look at any of the services what is there. What's the next wave? I'm just slightly rushing because I know I have to fulfill the 7-minute charter over there. Virtualization, why I'm touching? Because that's the next wave from a technology perspective. It helps us because we can do much more with less kind of environment. We can move from physical to a complete virtual environment, but at the same time, we should start thinking, when it will become so complex where there is physical, there is virtual, can we do a unified way of automation across our data centers over there? Because more software, less hardware is the end objective. Can we really move everything which is there in the physical data center as physical objects? Can we make more and more of it in a virtual environment? Because it gives the flexibility, it gives the agility for our data centers to run at much more optimized and powerful way to deliver those services. So I think last couple of slides, need of the automation is not just to do at the infrastructure layer. I think it's high time we start looking at automation requirement from technology perspective, to do at infrastructure, to do at application, to do at services, and cover each and every aspect of the IT or infrastructure which is available in our data centers to provide power not just only to the end user or the citizen, also to people who are running those infrastructure and give them a seamless access to it. So just to sum it up, computing is getting more and more complex. From the government perspective, they should be able to manage and secure, irrespective of, is it physical, is it virtual, is it application, is it database, is it server, and automate each and every object within the data center environment. Primarily, as a result, government definitely will benefit from reducing cost, providing high-end services over there, improve IT services, and the end objective is also looking at what that citizen needs, and not just looking at, can we really meet those SLAs, or can we pump in more technology, is what I just wanted to cover today. Thank you from my side.